Hello, everybody. Thank you for watching. It is the American Dufus Show. Don't be a doofus. It is 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the 6th day of March here in the United States of America. And it is already March the 7th in Ukraine and in Russia. And that's where the majority of our focus on this show is going to be tonight. So let's get right to it. Let's start out by going to our flight tracker. And again, if you're just joining, it's the American Doofus Show. Don't be a doofus. It's just news done differently. And we've got Forte 12 monitoring the Black Sea region, most of the Russian Navy in this area right here. We know Forte 12 is a Grumman global hawk. And we also have RCH 50 in the air right here, has just taken off. And that's a Global Master 3, United States Air Force cargo plane. And this is a small private jet, one of the fastest private jets in the world, actually. And it appears it's heading to the somewhere up in the Baltic states. And that is a commercial flight. And that's a commercial flight. Okay, these we've got no call signs here on two different Russian aircraft, and we'll keep an eye on that. So thank you all again for watching. Greatly appreciated. And please subscribe, like, share, let people know what we're doing here. News done just a little bit differently. Russian forces restrict access to external communication, and they block access to mobile networks and internet at the Zaporizhzhia nuclear power plant. The International Atomic Energy Agency announced today all operations of the plant's staff require approval by Russian commander. I start off with that in order to go to this. The Putin government is falsely reporting that Ukraine has rigged a reactor in Kharkiv. Any nuke, chemical, or biological incident in Ukraine is a Russian false flag. And that comes from Marco Rubio, Senator Marco Rubio, Florida, on the Intelligence Committee. I also, in last night's episode, if you didn't see it, I was concerned about the Ukrainian president Vladimir Zelensky, and his safety because of the relatively flippant handling of communications by some here in the United States government. And this is something that was shared with me. In Washington and Germany, Intelligence officials raced to merge satellite photographs with electronic intercepts of Russian military units, stripped them of hints of how they were gathered, and beamed them to Ukraine military units within an hour or two. Okay, that tells me that, you know, we've suspected for a long time that Washington and Germany's been providing intelligence to Ukraine and aiding them in their efforts to halt this invasion. Okay, then this part gets to what I was talking about. As Zelensky tries to stay out of the hands of Russian forces in Kyiv, President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine travels with encrypted communication equipment provided by America. This equipment can put him into a secure call with President Biden. Mr. Zelensky used it Saturday night for a 35-minute call with his American counterpart on what more the U.S. can do in its efforts to keep Ukraine alive without entering into direct combat on the ground, in the air, or in cyberspace with Russian forces. Okay, that's all well and good, but that's really not what I was talking about. Okay, I was talking about the communication between the Zoom communication, not an encrypted call by, you know, the highest of high tech encrypted phone, whatever it may be that he has, that is basically a direct line to Biden. We now know that exists, but that's not what I was talking about last night. So nonetheless, a response that came from that, and also an affirmation, if you will, that indeed officially intelligence is being shared. Okay, so here's some intelligence that maybe you didn't know, and all of these are quotes. Okay, all of these have come from reports. Hidden away on bases around Eastern Europe, forces from U.S. Cyber Command, these forces are known as cyber mission teams. They are in place to interfere with Russia's digital attacks and communications, but measuring their success rate is difficult. Okay. Polish leaders have said there is no deal regarding planes and are clearly concerned about how they would provide their fighters to Ukraine and whether doing so would make them a new target of the Russians. Now, the United States is open to the idea of a plane swap. What do I mean by plane swap? The Ukrainian Air Force would receive MiG-21s and MiG-29s, I believe, from Poland. And in exchange, the United States would provide Poland with newer American-made aircraft. I can understand the reluctance on the side of the Polish leaders, and I can understand it more so that I don't know if the United States is going to. It says the United States is open to the idea of plane swaps. I don't know if the United States is going to give Poland American fighter planes. I just, when push comes to shove, and as I get through this, maybe you'll see why. Remember, all these are quotes. As Russia takes more territory inside Ukraine, it is expected to become more and more difficult to distribute weapons to Ukrainian troops. That makes perfect sense, but the big cry is for planes. We need planes, or we need a no-fly zone, and I'm going to talk about that coming up too. American and other allied weaponry is making it difficult on the battlefield. Ukrainian soldiers armed with shoulder-fire Javelin anti-tank missiles have several times attacked a miles-long convoy of Russian armor and supply trucks helping stall Russian ground advance as it bears down on Kyiv. We showed one of those last night. The battle of the present day that most strategists, myself included, expected to mark the opening days of this war with attacks over computer networks and attacks being launched on power grid communication systems. That attack has barely begun, but do not expect it not to occur. Again, and these are all quotes. American officials are convinced that Ukrainian military and intelligence agencies are populated with Russian spies. So they're being careful not to distribute raw intelligence that would reveal sources. Okay. Now, remember just a little bit ago, I read you that American and German intelligence were stripping the material of any indication of where it came from. So removing sources. And they say they are not passing on specific intelligence that would tell Ukrainian forces how to go after specific targets. Let me repeat that. This is a quote again. American officials say they are not passing on specific intelligence that would tell Ukrainian forces how to go after specific targets. The concern is that doing so would give Russia an excuse to say it's fighting the United States or NATO, not Ukraine. Okay? American officials are convinced that Ukraine's military and intelligence agencies are populated with Russian spies. So they are being careful not to distribute raw intelligence that would reveal sources. Remember last night we reported on a deputy of President Zelensky who had either been killed while on a super secret operation or had been terminated for treason. So this is not going to be this is not going to be one of those things that when we learn all the truths that come out after the fact, this is not going to be one of those things that that is any way, shape, or form pretty. Okay. So if that is basically where we kind of stand today. And attacks started to begin tonight, our time. And numerous cities have been getting hit. And okay, this just came up, a mass evacuation from Zaporizhia, in part driven by the capture of the nearby nuclear power plant. And that is a great concern because all of Russia has been cut off. All right. As far as they're not getting any outside media, and most of their media is not coming out, with the exception of government controlled media. So all the Russian people are going to know is what the two agencies there in Russia, the two main dispersers of information, disinformation, propaganda, whatever. The only thing the Russian people are going to hear is what those agencies say. And if something happens in Ukraine, such as a nuclear incident, whether it be and remember, going back a long time, I said it's not just nuclear weapons, but nuclear power, and talked about the and this was way before all this happened with Zaporizhia. So we're in what would be called a false flag operation. That's where you do something to create a problem, and then you play the victim and blame it on somebody else. We talk about this all the time. Well, in this situation, in military parlance, in geopolitical parlance, it's a false flag operation. You stage an attack on your own territory to make it look like somebody else did it so you could punish them for doing so. And that is my concern now, especially after Senator Rubio tweeted what he tweeted. Now, some of the stuff, he doesn't, I don't know. Some of the stuff he tweets out, I question why he tweets it. And then he gives us information that is not necessarily classified, but is more of, if you read these and can connect the dots, you know what I'm talking about kind of tweets. And the one I read was one of those. And he evidently has intelligence that is suggesting there is an upcoming chemical, biological, or nuclear attack or somewhere in Ukraine, and that it will be used as a false flag to justify and to gain support in Russia for escalating, and what that means, only time will tell. So again, these are just things to be aware of that you're probably not going to hear on other sources. So no, I'm not going to do that. I was going to start out with a little bit of humor from Saturday Night Live last night, their cold open, in case you didn't see it. But if you'd like to see it, I just recommend you go look up Saturday Night Live's cold open. It was the celebration of the invasion of Ukraine, live from Mar-a-Lago, if that gives you any indication. Let's start. Let's start here. This is not the same video as last night, the night before, or the night before. This is a yet another.
Пацаны, помахайте рукою!
Okay, some of the jokes. Putin is more concerned with negotiating an arms deal with John Deere than he is with NATO, limiting the number of tractors that may be imported into Ukraine. Okay, you probably all have sufficiently laughed. Also, this one, the idea that maybe the United States ought to have a division of John Deere tractors. Back to serious news again. A little levity every once in a while because we're dealing with some awfully heavy subjects. This is the only thing I could find as far as an update on Brittany Griner. Diplomats were working to ensure the release of seven-time WNBA All-Star Brittany Griner after Russia said it had detained the player last month. And again, last month was February. It doesn't mean 30 days ago, but during February. And it was actually just before the invasion of second invasion, continued invasion, however you want to term it, occurred. And you can kind of figure that out by looking at the schedule of the basketball team she was playing for and the last game she was actually at. Detained her last month for possession of vape cartridges containing hashish oil. I thought vape cartridges were just like vapor and all this stuff in cigarettes. I can't remember. Nicotine. I have not had a cigarette since 2016. Here's a photo of the Kharkiv railway station. Kharkiv bombed heavily today. A 26-story apartment building was hit by a missile, plainly targeted with a direct hit. Probably a guided missile, probably had been specifically targeted and targeted at a specific place, which is common. A Russian priest will be tried for anti-war preaching. Priest Lone Burden will be tried for anti-war statements in his sermon and for publishing a link to an anti-war petition on his parish's website. That happened, or that was announced 3 hours ago. Aeroflight Group, basically Russia's number 2 airline, I believe, canceled international flights beginning Tuesday, and at least this is due in part to prevent lessors from recovering aircraft from the airlines as it's about to go bankrupt. Russia is recruiting Syrians for urban combat in Ukraine. U.S. officials announced, of course, we've been telling you about the Wagner Group or Wagner Group and Russian-based private military and or paramilitary. All depends on the on what definition you prefer. And the same group, we are assuming the same group is actively now in Syria recruiting fighters. And I stopped on this because not only are they recruiting Syrians to come and fight, but they're going to try to target those that have expertise in urban combat. Because if you've watched the episodes with Chris and I, if you haven't, go back and watch them. He talks a lot about how much, that armies don't want to fight in a city. Armies don't want to fight in the city. They're built to fight out in the open, especially mechanized divisions. So, and plus, outside of the United States and outside of Middle Eastern countries, there aren't a lot of armies with a lot of experience fighting inside of cities. And Russia generally doesn't fight inside a city. They just constantly, continually bomb a city into submission. And so this is an interesting twist. And I've got the best for last, honestly, and I'm a long way from it. Once again, a little bit of humor, or as we like to say, just something to think about. The top picture is a gentleman that was trying to overthrow the government of his country, the duly elected government, and he says, "We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you." That's not what he said. He didn't say, "I'll be there with you." We broadcasted this live before it was all removed, and he said, "I'll be out there leading you." Okay, and you can tell by the look on his face how sincere he was. And of course, he was back in the White House watching and laughing. Giddy was the direct term that was used to describe his behavior, as those that he said he was going to lead went without him and are now, many of them, facing prison. And it's not so funny for them anymore. But you get this guy saying that, and you get this guy not saying anything, just doing this with the caption, "Bitch, please." Video from earlier today of 8 Russian ballistic missiles striking an international airport southwest of Kyiv. And You can see from the distance and just imagine the potential damage done. And again, this isn't this isn't from 5 or 6 days ago. This was this happened earlier this afternoon. So it's not like there's a lull necessarily. There's not like there's a time when, okay, well, there's nothing going on in most situations. I mean, it depends on where you're at, your location. In Lviv, there's been relatively nothing other than preparing and air raid sirens. But somewhere in the country, all right, that's what I'm saying. Somewhere in the country, there is something going on at all times, including when Russia agrees to a ceasefire to let civilians out. As soon as the civilians started coming out, the Russian military started blasting them, shooting at anything and everything that moves, and very incredibly inhumane. The Russian Defense Ministry announced earlier today that it's about to liberate Ukraine's remaining military-industrial complex with a new wave of high-precision weapons, and they urged factory workers to stay away. This gentleman, Kevin Rothrock, adds, better stay really far away because the precision of Russians' missiles has been lacking. And I'm not going to play it for you because unless if you understand Russian, you can go look it up. But otherwise, I don't have a translation. Now, we touched on this last night. I just wanted to bring it back up because it keeps getting brought back up. U.S. and European officials discussing how the West would support a government in exile helmed by Zelensky should he have to flee Kyiv. Western and European officials have been discussing it, and this is a big problem. This is a big problem. It's not a big problem in America, but the rest of the world has a big problem with the fact that we decide what the hell you're going to do. And this is just an example, all right? The U.S. and European officials are discussing how the West would. They haven't even said, hey, Zelensky, you think, you are, is there ever going to be a time where you're going to want to leave Ukraine? See, we have a problem in America in that we look at everybody else, and we as individuals do it. A lot of us as individuals are like, everybody thinks just like me. Everybody should want to do everything just like me. All right. Well, as a country, we look at things like, well, okay, this is how it should be done. This is how we want to do it. This is how it will happen. And we kind of tell everybody else, in a diplomatic fashion that, okay, this is how we see it happening, and make it happen. I don't think that guy's going to leave. And not only don't I think he's going to leave, the only way this ends and doesn't go beyond the border of Ukraine, because I've always said this is not about Ukraine. When everybody was questioning, why is the Russian army acting why are they doing this? Why haven't they done this? Why aren't things going as we expect? Well, they don't think like we do, and we don't think like they do. And so I've never thought that this was about Ukraine. And I could be wrong. Of course, I've been wrong about a lot of things. If this is just about Ukraine, the only way this ends at Ukraine's border is one of the two leaders is no longer leader. Okay. Either Putin has to go or Zelensky has to go in order for this to end and not go beyond the border of Ukraine, in my opinion. All right. If this has never been about Ukraine, and I don't think it has, and I'm going to end with explaining why. I just found this very ominous. Russia issued a document stating that women and men between the ages of 15 and 72 can be banned from leaving Russia. That doesn't say that they are banned. It doesn't say they will be banned. It says they can be banned. This is a softening up tool. This is letting you know, okay, this is what's coming, Russian citizens. Prepare for it. You've been warned. If you're between 15 and 72, male or female, you're not going to be allowed to leave Russia. Is that a way to build an army? Any idea how many people that might be? Zelensky. Now I'm going to give you a few quotes from Zelensky that came throughout the day. We will punish everyone who committed atrocities in this war. We will find every scum who was shelling our citizens or people, who was shooting missiles, who were giving orders. You will not have a quiet place on earth except for a grave, end quote. Again, that was Zelensky from one of his addresses today. Here's an update on losses. And these are verified, open source verified losses. These are not willy-nilly. These are not influenced by either one of the governments. See, we got a lot to go. We've got a lot to go. We've got a lot to go. This is these have been visually confirmed and geolocated, and these are this is a number. 120 tanks, 79 AFVs, 2 UAVs, and believe it or not, I said last night that, this might be a joke, but it said it's not. Now this isn't, this is a UAV. I imagine it was probably like, your more like your commercial drone than your big, 40 by 25 foot Predator drone. I imagine it was a small little spy drone, but a lady knocked it out of the sky with over there they say cucumbers, with a jar of cucumbers. Over here we would say pickles, because pickles are, that's pickles come from cucumbers. Cucumbers are pickles that have gone through the pickling process. So she knocked down one of the UAVs with a jar of pickles. They've lost 10 aircraft, 10 helicopters, and again, that was from this afternoon. And then it breaks down the various types of tanks that have been destroyed. And here just a couple of the pictures of some of those losses. Okay, I've got this whole thread in here and that was not intended. Whoa. So I don't have, okay, it looked, Again from Zelensky, quote, think about the feeling of impunity that the occupiers have, that they announce their atrocities in advance. Now he's referring to what I had read earlier that showed you the Russian, the head of the Russian military saying, we're going to bomb your factories tomorrow, and all you factory workers, you need to stay away. Think about the feeling of impunity they have. They announce their atrocities in advance, all because there is no reaction, not a word. It's like all Western leaders are gone today. I hope you will at least notice it tomorrow and react to it, end quote. Vladimir Putin is from St. Petersburg, Russia. And each one of these people marching past St. Isaac's Cathedral is risking 15 years in prison just because they're saying, quote, no to war, end quote. So that's a small number compared to the total population of Russia. But at the same time, it shows amazing bravery. Zelensky again, quote, the audacity of the aggressor is a clear signal for the West that the imposed sanctions aren't enough. You can't hide from this reality. You can't hide from the new killings in Ukraine, end quote. Zelensky, Russia announces that tomorrow will be bombing our defensive industry enterprises. Most of them are located in our cities with civilians around. It's a murder, simply a murder. And I didn't see any world leader react to it today, any Western politician. We're still waiting as well. Israelis claim they shot down 2 Iranian drones smuggling weapons into the Gaza Strip. They shot them down with F-35s, American fighters. This would be the first hostile shoot down by F-35s. Russian President Vladimir Putin has reiterated his demands in Ukraine in a telephone conversation with Macron earlier and said Ukraine must meet them or the war continues. And Russia has began to prepare for removing itself from the internet. Everything will be done with inside Russia, all Russian servers. And I'm going to save this for noon's show because it is long and it is something I want to share. And I'm going to save at least one other video for tomorrow. Okay. This was Poland won't its fighter jets to Ukraine as well as allow to use its airports. That was 7 hours ago. And then the United States had agreed to the possibility, and now it appears it's still under consideration, but we shall see. And again, the power plant, Russian forces itself, the networks, and the International Atomic Energy Agency is really concerned about the Zaporizhzhia plant. Reliable information from the site cannot be obtained through the normal channels of communication. Melania Trump had to cancel a fundraiser because of fraud. Anonymous, the hacker group, hacked all of the, we've been talking about Russian media being limited. The hacker group Anonymous hacked this afternoon all of the Russian media and began broadcasting this statement, followed by just scene after scene after scene after scene of carnage, proving Russia was indeed at war with Ukraine. And this statement is, we are ordinary citizens of Russia. We oppose the war on the territory of Ukraine. Russia and Russians are against the war. This war is tied up by the criminal authoritarian regime of Putin. On behalf of the ordinary citizens of the Russian Federation, Russians oppose the genocide in Ukraine. And it will be interesting because nobody's been talking about that, and it'll be interesting tomorrow. That's what I love about this show. We talk about these things, and then tomorrow we start seeing them on mainstream media and how everybody is starting to behave. This is another one I'm going to save till tomorrow afternoon show because this is getting long and I've still got stuff to do. But nonetheless, while we just showed what was happening, what Anonymous was doing, there are many Russians, and this Z is some are comparing it to the new swastika, as the swastika was the identifier of Nazi Germany. The Z has rather become the emblem of fascist Russia. And again, I'm going to show that video tomorrow. We'll talk more about it. This is one I definitely wanted to. U.S. officials suggest Putin fears Sergei Shoigu will attempt a coup next week, growing distancing between the individuals and closed-door conversations suggest a replacement is being architected. It is deemed probable that Shoigu will be tried for corruption and treason. So, in the next week, you see this man's picture on your screen. In the next week, either he's going to be dead or in jail, or Putin is going to be dead or in jail, according to U.S. intelligence sources and other. I want to hold on for just a second here, and other countries' intelligence sources. So we'll see how that played out. And again, earlier I mentioned that I felt the only way, if this ends and doesn't go beyond the border of Ukraine, the only way it does so is if one of the two leaders is removed. So, and that would avert a nuclear crisis, and that would take a weight off of a lot of people's shoulders. This is a warning. This video is disturbing, and at the same time, well.
Вы видели тех, которые привезли? Были, просто разобрали. Вы видели тех, которые привезли? Были, просто разобрали.
If you listen, you can hear the missile come in with a. Now, we're not certain. We're not certain what happened to the driver and the passenger. There have been those that said, okay, if they didn't survive, the video wouldn't be there. And then there are those that said some of these are wired into computer bases, and the video was captured and recorded regardless. So there are people trying to get resolution on that. And again, just imagine you're just driving down the street talking to your friend, and all of a sudden, right beside your car, boom. And this is also shelling that happened last night in Orvish. And again, the flash is so bright when the rocket hits that it temporarily basically blinds the camera. So these things are going on somewhere night and day all throughout Ukraine. I'm going to save that for tomorrow afternoon too. Let's go ahead and just do that now because it's not that long. Only 21 seconds here. Okay. First of all, I've got stories about Hillary Clinton. She's not my favorite politician, let's just say that. And her husband, Bill, is even less further and more further down the list. But listen to what she said some 6 years ago now.
Pretty clear you won't admit that the Russians have engaged in cyber attacks against the United States of America, that you encourage espionage against our people, that you are willing to spout the Putin line, sign up for his wish list, break up NATO, do whatever he wants to do.
Now, there are those that are going to say, oh, that's Hillary. She lies. She does. But okay, well, that could be. But here's what she said for those that couldn't hear. You won't admit Russians have engaged in cyber attacks against the United States. You encouraged espionage against our people. You are willing to spout the Putin line, sign up for his wish list, break up NATO, which former Trump employees, if you will, have said that was the intention. Don't forget those things. All right. There's going to be some bad stuff's coming. Don't let important things get lost in your head. This is a letter from the general of the Belarusian army. A lot of people, including myself, were like, okay, Belarus is coming in on the side of Russia and they'll, it won't take long to get to Kyiv. But they didn't, and they haven't, and they probably won't. This letter, in pursuance of your order regarding the formation of shock battalion groups, I am forced to report the following, and this is the translation of the above. Due to the massive refusal to take part in combat operations of the personnel of the military units that were supposed to be involved, conducted. Let me see, where was I? Supposed to be involved staffing the above battalion groups. The armed forces of Belarus have no opportunity to man any battalion groups. They can't man a battalion of people that are willing to go fight against their cousins, basically. Conducting explanatory work with the commanders of units did not yield results. I had the courage to assume that the replacement of the commanders of these military units who could not organize the formation of groups on the ground will not give us the results we need. In the view of the above, I ask your decision regarding the acceptance of my resignation. So that's a pretty strong indicator that, at least as far as infantry, Belarus probably will not be involved. These laws are from the Ukrainian armed forces, over 11,000 troops. So far, Russia has said they've lost 500. But remember those, I hate to even, it just portable crematorium with 8 separate crematoriums in the back of each one of those semi-tractor trailers. And this is something that was noted and something that we need to look for in the future. This battle sign, along with the Z on the Russian tank, this battle sign was a white libertarian movement battle sign in World War II. Okay, I want to play all of that from Alex, and I'll do that tomorrow. For those that are, I'm going to say this. If you're into munitions, you're into weaponry. This is what one person's kit is basically: body armor, helmet, rocket propelled grenades here and here, launchers, and suppressed. I'm not sure what kind of rifle that is. I'm going to have to look. This is an NLAW that you've heard us talk about, shoulder fired single shot anti-tank weapon. And looks like another suppressed. I'm guessing it's an AK of some sort, but suppressed Maluks and an NLAW, rocket propelled grenades, RPG 22 and RPG 7, and an RPV 16. So, for those of you that are into weaponry, that is a SOF kit basically, and again, just a little bit of humor here before these Russians entered the elevator. They were on their way up to cover the area from the roof of the office building. Ukrainians turned off the power to the elevator, and they were basically captured. There's got to be a joke in there somewhere. Okay, a lot of people have been talking about the mud and why, the stalled convoy. What we haven't heard is that you see all this water. Well, that's what caused a lot of the mud. They opened the Kiev reservoir, and they just made this massive mud quagmire. So I just love the tenacity and kind of the fact that, Ukraine's kind of looking at this like, look, we need you to give us this. We need you to, we need your help with this. We need you, but it doesn't appear like you're going to give us the things we need. So, we're just going to figure out how to do it ourselves, and we're going to steal Russian equipment and use that. And it's just, and standing up to the great, mighty, feared Russian army. And are we learning that the Russian army is nothing but a paper tiger, and that without nuclear weapons, did we allow a lot of things to happen? We, as the Western world, did we allow a lot of atrocities because we were afraid of something we should not have been afraid of? And is the same thing going to happen with China? China's got a lot of military power, supposedly. How long has it been since China's been in a fight? They don't have any real fighting experience, do they? How long has it been since China's been in a real fight? I mean, hey, one thing about the U.S., we're fighting somewhere all the time. It's not like we don't have people that are experienced at fighting. We're sending some to Ukraine right now. They're going on their own. because they know how to fight. And there's a huge difference in troops that are experienced in fighting and those that aren't. Okay. Now, I'm not saying go to war with China. All right. Stop. If you're commenting that, again, I'm on this new software. I can't see what anybody's saying. That's because that's not what I'm saying. I'm just giving you something to think about. We've been all this time, we've been so concerned about the Russian military, and one of two things: either there's nothing, we didn't have a whole lot to be concerned about, or we have yet to see the actual Russian military. Okay. I've left this up long enough. This is for you numerologists, and I saw it. And of course, the first thing I did was go to verify the dates, just because I saw it and I went, yeah. And then I was like, well, let me go verify just to make sure, because, this looks like something that, somebody would create that, after further review, you would go, well, oh, they manipulated it to make it come out this way. And now for Americans, this is the day, the month, and the year. That's the way it's transcribed in Europe. The day first, then the month, then the year. Whereas we do it the month first, then the day, and then the year. It really doesn't matter, because all the numbers are, whether you have the month first or the day first, the numbers are the same. And if you're a numerologist, or heck, even if you're just somebody going, whoa, that's a pretty crazy coincidence. Let's hope that it's not. Let's hope that it's not anything more than just a coincidence. It's cold over there. Ukraine's gas transmission system operators had to shut down 16 gas distribution stations in 6 of Ukraine's oblasts. Again, an oblast is similar to what might be a state here in our country of America. Kyiv, Zaporizhzhia, Kyiv, Mykolaiv, Donetsk, and Luhansk, as a result of Russia's full-scale invasion that was announced late yesterday. And okay, I'm going to save some of these for tomorrow, afternoon. I'll be on tomorrow afternoon, and then tomorrow night, I'm going to do just a Facebook only, and just I'm just going to come on for an open forum, so I can see comments and we can chat back and forth, probably about 15 minutes. So if anybody has anything, I'll post it, but it'll be just on Facebook only. I want you to see this. Well, it's not going to come up. Let me refresh it. Thank you all for watching. I like to keep this like 45 minutes to an hour, and I'm getting to an hour. I've never thought this was just about Ukraine. It's just something I felt. I thought it was always about Putin wanting revenge, about Putin wanting glory, about Putin wanting to make Russia the greatest country in the world, and that be his legacy. And the only way he can do that is by destroying the United States. It's the only way he can lay claim to being the greatest country in the world. To be the best, you got to beat the best. And There have been reports for a while. In 2020, when the entire world was on lockdown, we were amidst a virus. In February 2020, Vladimir Putin had emergency surgery, and most intelligence agents, and we didn't pay any attention to it because, you know, we were facing the totally unknown, and 900,000 Americans died from that virus. So it was understandable that that was our focus. But during that time, Vladimir Putin had surgery. He had abdominal surgery, and sources claim, and these were, this is the Mirror, this is from the UK, but there, if you dig a little bit, there are, and again, this is from 2020, 2 years ago, there are a lot of reports that he has cancer and it's terminal, and he also has Parkinson's disease, which is degenerative. So if those things are true, and if those things are true, then there is no way this ends well unless he is removed as leader of Russia. And the tighter the circle becomes, the more pressure he comes under, the more apt he is to act out in a manner that is unthinkable. I end this way only to take us full circle back to where we began. To recap, Senator Marco Rubio said, don't be surprised. He said, basically, don't be surprised if there's not a chemical, biological, or nuclear attack or nuclear incident in Ukraine, and that it is a false flag operation that will be perpetrated upon Ukraine, and simultaneously Ukraine will be blamed for the act to justify punishing Ukraine even further. Okay? I don't think that's outlandish. I don't think that's outlandish analytics at all. Okay? I'm not saying Putin's going to push buttons and launch nukes all over the world. I'm not saying he's not either. We can't say that. We can't say that. A month ago, I might have said that. Well, now maybe 2 months ago, I might have said that, because from a good month anyway, if not longer, we've been pretty much all over this. And I've called out some specific dates and times just based on analysis that things didn't happen, but it doesn't mean they haven't happened yet. So pray for the world if you're a praying person. And if you're not, send out positive vibes to the universe. If you're a praying person, no matter your faith or spirituality, pray for the world. Pray for the world. Of course, pray for the people of Ukraine. Pray for your families. Pray for everything you normally pray for, but very rarely are we faced with something global. And this is potentially global. So tonight I add, pray for the world. Pray for the people of Ukraine. If you're a fellow Christian, blessings in the name of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. If you're not, hey, I still love you. And we're all in this together. One race, the human race. One race, the human race. Let's remember we're human. We're humankind. Let's remember to be kind. And let's remember to be humane. I love y'all. I truly do. And one final thing that hasn't been talked about by anyone, but I just want to bring it up. Just so that other people will start thinking about it and the word will circulate and it'll be made aware. There is a crisis at the border around Ukraine. People trying to get out. And a lot of places things are moving smoothly. And a lot of places there's some hiccups. And a lot of places there have been incidents where racism has been perceived. And that's not good, of course. And we need to stop it. One thing we haven't heard that incredibly concerns me, and I hope that Summer Dickerson and people that have the voices and have the platforms and have the connections to get this word out. Around those borders right now, there are a lot of women without husbands and children. All right. There are a whole bunch of people fleeing. The majority of them are women and children. Who gets trafficked the most? Women and children. They're prime locations for this to happen. I hope there are enough authorities around there that it can't happen. And I hope I'm overreacting, and I hope somebody tells me this so I can come back on here tomorrow and tell you this. But until then, again, it's just something to think about. It's all the conditions are there. People coming desperate with nowhere to go, not sure. It's just, I'm sorry, but again, the numbers the pieces just come together, the dots connect in a horrific way. And if there's some way to draw attention to it so that if they're not looking for it now, they will be, help make it happen if you can. Thank you for watching. It's the American Dufus Show. Don't be a doofus. You want to contact me, email americandufus, americandufus @gmail.com. And if you'd like to throw a couple of dollars in to help support the show, you can do so at Cashapp, $American Dufus. That's the best way. I don't get hit with a lot of fees. But if you want to contribute through YouTube or Facebook or another way, such as PayPal or whatever it may be, Western Union, you want to wire me, whatever, if you want to do that, just email me. But this isn't about, I'm just telling you how you can help support the show. Right now, for those of you that have money, consider helping somebody or something in Ukraine. All right. There are orphans there. There are going to be pets there. There are going to be shelter animals there. There are going to be widows. There are currently medical needs. All right. Hospitals have been bombed. Largest children's hospital in Ukraine was bombed. If you got money, consider helping, but do so smartly. Don't just give your money to anybody that shows up. Do a little research, figure out something that can touch somebody else, because it's a dark world. And when it is a dark world, those of us that are lights, we shine just a little bit brighter. Try to be a light. I love y'all. It's the American Dufus Show. Don't be a doofus. Peace, shalom, salam, namaste, slava Ukraine. I love you all.